Hi there, my name is Stacey Goldring. I am the facilitator of Chapter and Notes Book Club, and I am so excited to talk to you about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I've been waiting to facilitate this book since like 2007, so it is about time. Let me tell you how we're going to go ahead and talk about Harry Potter today. So if you don't mind following along in your Marauders map with me, this is how we're going to break it down. I am going to go ahead and talk about the structure of the book. So how J.K. Rowling, maybe someone can tell me down in the comments how to actually pronounce her last name properly, how she structures the book. I want to talk about her literary devices, such as motifs, allegories, symbolism, etc. I want to talk about the themes of the book. I also am going to want to talk about her writing style, which is so much fun. Then I'm going to fall down the rabbit hole of illusions and etymology, because what she calls potions, spells, charms, the names of the characters in the book, they give me such great joy. So I have to share that with you. I will then share a little bit of a critical analysis of the book, how critics have received the book, and what the good and the bad that they have to say about it. Time permitting, we'll go ahead and do a brief bio of the author's life. Then I'll wrap at the end with sharing with you some wonderful quotes that I found in the book. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Structure. Okay, the structure of this book. Let's talk first, when we're building the structure, let's talk about themes. This is a coming-of-age novel. This is your typical, what I would call a Bildungsroman. It's the theme of adolescence and self-discovery. And we have our main character, who is Harry Potter, who navigates the challenges of being an orphan, finding his identity, finding his place in the world, and he is in a quest to find his true potential. Does that sound familiar? This is classic storytelling, and I am all about it. Secondly, this is a book of good versus evil. This is a story of, we have our antagonist, Lord Voldemort, and then we have Harry Potter. And when I think of the name Harry Potter, the first thing that pops into my mind the first time I read the book was Potter's Field. And this is a place where people are buried who can't afford or do not have family to bury them. This is an everyman's field. So Harry Potter to me, skipping a little forward on etymology, etc. Harry Potter to me, he represents every man, the downtrodden, the people that don't have a chance in life. He is that common, for lack of a better term, everyman, although Philip Roth wrote a book called Everyman, which this is kind of, that's a much more darker take than this. But anyway, in this case, Harry Potter, and Harry is derivative of Henry, and Henry means ruler. So I think choosing the name Harry Potter, is a way of showing that he is a ruler, yet he is every man. And I just love that. Okay, so we have good versus evil and Lord Voldemort. So I learned that obviously when you hear the word Lord, that's someone who's official, who reigns, etc. But Voldemort, when I heard Voldemort or Voldemort, depending on your how you pronounce it, I knew mort meant, dying, dead, whatever. But vold, I went to mold. But come to find out, vol foi means, vold means flight. So we have someone who is fleeing from death. And this is something that Voldemort, this is his MO for the entire series, not only this book, although in this book we meet him where we have to assume from the prequel, which I'm hoping to learn, I hope we can talk about that enough time. Anyway, so, obviously he is trying to reinvigorate himself, and he does this. Oh, spoilers everywhere. So sorry. But he does this being, this type of parasite upon Professor Quirrell, sucking the life out of him in order to regrow. And of course, having the Philosopher's Stone, which is the elixir for, endless life. And that would also be helpful to him. And that's why he wants it. So there you have it there. All right. So continuing on with our themes, we have coming of age, we have good and evil, and we also have friendship. The power of friendship, it repeats throughout this book and throughout all the novels. They are loyal, they support, they each have strengths that play off one another. And they're like their own, superheroes, because they all are trying to overcome their own obstacles, their own strengths, are all trying to become, for lack of a better term, fully realized. Anyway, growing up, good friends, that kind of thing. It's also a book about identity and destiny, and it's the choices we make, right? So we find that Harry has to come to terms with his past and what has happened to him. We see how he then connects to the wizarding world. He goes, "Oh my God, you're a wizard, Harry." I mean, Hagrid says that very early on. And Harry's like, "Oh no, you're mistaken." But, we come to find out, indeed he is. And then he has to decide whether or not to fulfill his destiny as the boy who lived. Sacrifice is evident throughout the book. First of all, to me, Harry is the ultimate hero character. He is like, biblically speaking, he is a Christ figure, dying to save, dying in order that everyone else should live. His parents, his mother, his father, they die for him so he can go on. At the end of the book, sorry, I need a little something to drink here. At the end of the Deathly Hallows, we're right back to where we started from. Again, spoilers, because after the battle, we see all those who had to die in order for, to fight evil. So this certainly is a timeless theme when we talk about man's inhumanity to man, or wizard's inhumanity to wizard. Literary devices. There's symbolism throughout the book. There's foreshadowing. I love her use of foreshadowing. Right at the beginning, when Hagrid takes Harry into the leaky cauldron, and I'm talking like this, like it really exists, because I would so love it for it to really exist. Excuse me. When he takes him in to the leaky cauldron, he meets Quirrell. And upon meeting Quirrell, he goes to shake Quirrell's hand, but Quirrell recoils. And he does that because he cannot handle being that, Voldemort is kind of living vicariously through him. The evil is running through Quirrell's veins, becoming more and more toxic within. He cannot touch Harry because Harry has this aura of love, and it's his mother's love, his parents' love that protects him, even though his parents have passed. Okay, we also have magical realism, and I believe that our author does an exquisite job, may I say magical job, of weaving in the everyday and the fantastical. This is actually a criticism when we look at how critics look at Harry Potter, because they don't feel that it truly is a justifiable, is that a word? A justified, a real, genuine fantasy, because it doesn't hit all the marks for fantasy. One of them being there has to be another center in which everything lives around, and by our author going back and forth between the real and the fantasy, it kind of fails in that regard. I hope that makes sense. I mean, I'm quoting from academics, so what do I know? What do they know? What do any of us know? But anyway, I love that she uses humor throughout the book. The humor is sprinkled. There's just the right amounts to go through the book. Certainly when Dudley sprouts a tail, pig's tail, I found that incredibly fun. And just fast forward to the end of the book when Harry is in the hospital wing, and the Weasley twins try to send him a get well toilet. It's just things like that just make me laugh. All right, moving forward, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the motifs. What's a motif? A motif I get this confused a lot with themes, but a motif is something that ties a work together, which sounds an awful lot like a theme. But in this case, think about eyes. So eyes are not a theme, but eyes play an important role in the book in understanding the characters. For instance, Harry has eyes that are just like his mother's, Lily's. The idea that you can see goodness or evil when you look into someone's eyes. Snape has dark, eyes. Dumbledore has beautiful blue eyes. There's a lot of looking into one's eyes, totally classic, device. We can go all the way back to Emerson's all-seeing eye. It's just this idea of throughout the novel and the series, there are references to looking into one's eyes and being able to see into their souls. We also have the motif of lost parents, which seems to happen a lot. I mean, look at any Disney movie, but the idea of losing parents, Harry right away loses his parents right at the start. Socks also come up in the Potter films, in the Potter books. Yeah, I guess, and the Potter films too. Dumbledore looks into the mirror of Erised and he sees himself holding what? Holding socks, because that's his one desire. He would like some good pairs of socks. And I believe it is book 2, The Chamber of Secrets, we meet Dobby the house elf, whose freedom can only be guaranteed if he receives a piece of clothing from his master. And what is that piece of clothing? Exactly. All right. Every year in every book, there is a new dark arts teacher. There's always someone new. This year it's Quirrell. Next year it'll be Gilderoy Lockhart, etc., etc. So that is something that we come to expect, which, if you're a type of reader who likes this, it gives you a sense of comfort. You kind of know what to expect. You like how things fit together. Great. However, you could be a reader who could say, this again, can't you come up with something else? So there's two ways, right? There's two ways to look at it. And everyone is entitled to their opinion. We all bring our own baggage to each book. However, before you get too critical, go ahead and write your own book and see how you do before you get too highfalutin. At least that's how I look at the criticisms. And as I go like this, I realize I want you to see that from, I think it's book 3, I can't remember, I can't keep up, but I am wearing Hermione's Time Turner necklace. I don't know if you can see it or not, but isn't that stunning? Just love that. Got that in the airport gift shop. Anyway, the invisibility cloak. So that shows up in this book, and we see it again, but it is the idea that this cloak turns up in order to help Harry on his quest. And it's also told in the Deathly Hallows. The invisibility cloak has a role in the Deathly Hallows. The put outer, which we see in the first chapter of this book, where Dumbledore can make lights go on and off, also shows up at the very end of the book. I have all the books over here. I don't know if you can see them. This is one set I have displayed. I know it's fuzzy. I don't know how to fix that. But I have several. I have a Bloomsbury set. I wish I was a part of the Bloomsbury set. I have hardcovers. These I happen to have my soft covers here, and a few of the other wonderful books. But anyway, that she has written. So getting back to the putter outer. So this is a way of Dumbledore to turn on and off the lights, to be seen, not to be seen. And then at the end of the book, it's actually something that is gifted to Ron. And he ends up using it in order to find his way home. Home, in this case, being back to his friends. Okay, I'd like to talk about a very important symbol. So now we're moving on to symbols, and that is Harry's scar. Right? What does a scar represent? Well, first of all, a scar, right? It shows that you've been a victim. Something has happened to you. right? It also shows, and a reader in another group pointed this out, that it represents survival. And yet another reader pointed out, and a member of our group, that it represents being human. We all have scars, whether visible or not. This is what makes us who we are. Our author also has various archetypes of good, evil, love, death throughout the book, represented by different characters and different scenarios. The Philosopher's Stone itself, what does that represent? I would say it almost represents, some of the deadly sins, because there's greed, because so many people want it. There's temptation. And there's also this idea that you're after the impossible. It's like delusional. I don't know if that's a deadly sin, but it's this idea of you're being in the pursuit of immortality. So I guess if you're a cosmetic surgeon, you could use the Philosopher's Stone as part of your logo. I mean, why not? We've talked about foreshadowing, so I can tick that off the list. Rowling also uses a classical device of a train ride. If you think of any book you've read, even film you've seen, television show, where there is a train ride, I mean, it could be a car ride too, but I'm going with train because I'm thinking about like Anna Karenina. But anytime there's a train, this represents the character is transitioning, from something to something. So in this case, it is from the Muggle world. Don't you love that word? I mean, the illusion in this book is outstanding. In fact, let us go ahead and pause the train because, not the illusion, I want to talk about the alliteration. The alliteration, which is how it sounds, how it all goes together. It is just so fantastic. And I'm going to show you this. First of all, the word muggle. I mean, it just sounds like you're confined and you're not that creative. But reading from the very first page, just indulge me, and I won't read too much because I don't want to get in trouble with copyright. But Mr. Dursley was the director of a firm called Grunnings, which made drills. I mean, right there, I read that chapter, and that is the first chapter of the second paragraph. I was in. Like, I'm in. Dursley, director, a firm called Grunnings, which makes drills, grunting, droning. All I can say is that the author gets it. And either you know what gets it means or you don't. And I'm sure there's some wonderful German literary term for gets it, but the understanding of language, I think it's called sprogful or something. I don't know. It came up in some vocabulary thing I read a while ago. But anyway, the words go together so well. Train ride, getting back to train ride. Okay. Trains are a reflective device that we go from the normal to the fantasy. It's also the idea that there's going to be some major change in the characters going from A to B. It's where the thinking takes place. It kind of is teeing everything up for once you get to that destination. And if you've read the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis, you'll also know that the train wreck is access to the kingdom of heaven. I have that written here. I only read the first one, and that was a long time ago, so I really need to revisit that because I love C.S. Lewis. He's one of the Inklings. Okay, the mirror. The literary device of a mirror is used throughout literature. Think picture of Dorian Gray, Alice in Wonderland, even Snow White. I love the chessboard so much. When I got to the first time I read it, I've read this book, all the books, several times. In fact, I'm always reading Harry Potter. I'm always reading Harry Potter. Anyway, the chessboard that Harry uses to proceed, Alice in Wonderland uses a chessboard as well. this is how this is something where you have to work through this strategy in order to get to the next level. When Harry had to get past the three-headed dog, get past the vines that were all over them, move on and, do the chessboard, and then go ahead and drink from the proper, elixir, etc. I felt like these are almost like levels of Mario Brothers or some game. Like you have to get through this in order to get to that. Whatever that quest thing is, probably all goes back to the Iliad and the Odyssey. I love all of it, all of it, all of it. All right. So the chessboard, I love when that queen just goes ahead and smacks the other piece. And I love that Ron is the hero of the chess game, not Harry. I think that was beautifully done. And then Hermione has all the answers to all the elixirs. Which one do you drink? I just love that. Okay. Mythology and folklore permeate, resonate, manifest in each of the stories and sub-stories or plots and subplots. I happen to love that. Some people may think that's formulaic. Excuse me, where I get a little drink of something hot. This was a very nice birthday gift that I was given. Isn't that nice? It's Hogwarts at night. Carrying on. Okay, so the idea that we have all this mythology and folklore that is just bubbling at the surface of this book, I loved it. I loved all the magical creatures. I love the centaurs. I love the trolls. I love the hippogriffs. I love all of it. The grindy lows. I love all of it. Many of those things that are mentioned do not take place in this book. Full disclaimer, but stay tuned and please read the others because they're all in there. Okay. The setting, where's the setting? We are at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Witchcraft and Wizardry. This is inspired by the typical English boarding school, and it's just located in the countryside. I know it's in Scotland. Well, I don't know it's in Scotland, but I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And I know you can take tours when you go to Scotland, Harry Potter tours. I missed one last time, but I did take a great one of a cemetery, which I'll get to in a second if we have time. I love how there's a sorting ceremony and the kids are all in their houses. I love on the train, Bertie bots every flavored bean, including spinach, liver, and tripe. I mean, how great is that? And, the little playing cards with the chocolate frogs and the people moving them. I just love the idea. It's almost normal, but not. It's totally magical. I also love how no one has phones, but that's a whole other story. Okay. People ask me, why do I love Harry Potter? What is it? I would say it is, on top of her use of etymology, it is layering all of her talents and balancing in that just right to give us a beautiful story. She layers experiences, perspectives. She keeps the reader engaged, grounded, aware, and also gives us complete freedom to go with her wherever she's going to take us. It's a book that's British to the core. It blends fantasy, Victorian sentiment, minus that Mary Poppinization. It's not too sweet. It's not too saccharine. There are elements of it that make you think of the Sword and the Stone, the King Arthur and his Merlin. We have Harry and his Albus Dumbledore. I've mentioned Alice in Wonderland, the Chronicles of Narnia as well. And Harry Potter follows this typical literary history. He is a self-doubting hero. Like young King Arthur, he is being tutored and he does make mistakes. And that's what we love about our heroes, is that they are, they have the idea that they're real makes them even better. The influences that have influenced J.K. Rowling, well, clearly she is an incredibly well-read person, super duper smart. She loves the Austen books. She loves Emma. Obviously, Shakespeare, Milton, and Chaucer are in her wheelhouse. And she does have a command of biblical references. When you're talking good versus evil, there you go. Ovid, Chaucer, Shakespeare, I already mentioned. Okay. Here is what our author has to say about allusions. And I love that she makes allusions, nods to other books. It was pointed out to me that the Weatherman in the first chapter is a nod to Alfred Hitchcock. I had no idea. That was very cool. She also makes allusions, literary references, to her own books. So in the acceptance letter, right, there is also a list of books you need. And first of all, she just has such a great command of words. I love the names of the books that you have to read as a first year at Hogwarts. And just to name a few, 1,000 Magical Herbs and Fungi by Philadia Spore. Magic Drafts and Potions by Arsenius Jigger. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which surely rings a bell because it was also a book and major motion picture by Newt Scamander. Dark Forces, A Guide to Self-Protection by Quentin Trimble. And, you know, this obviously reminds me of someone who is trembling, or Coral who is querulous. I just love all that. The History of Magic by Bathilda Bagshot. This is something I'm waiting to become a real thing. In fact, all these books, I am waiting. If they're not already a real thing, I want them to be a real thing. But isn't it fun that when she wrote these books, none of them were real yet? Well, they were in her mind. They just weren't published yet. Okay. The obvious Greek mythology nod, well, it would be a triple nod because it would go to Fluffy, the three-headed dog guarding the trap door, with a reference to Cerberus, which I probably pronounced wrong, the three-headed dog guarding the gates of the underworld. Like I said, I feel the entire book, is just like the Odyssey, the Iliad, whatever. Okay. Now, let's just go over some of the spells and their names and their etymologies. So welcome to Etymology Corner. Aloha Mora. So aloha, you know, I think of Hawaii and hello, the greeting. It's derived from the West African word loa, meaning spirit, and Latin word mora, meaning obstacles. And what does aloha mora do? I'm looking for my wand. I can't find it. Oh, here it is. Stand by. Ugh. Here's my wand. Okay. Aloha Mora. It opens, it unlocks doors. Wingardium Leviosa is inspired by the Latin term levitate, right? Leviosa, which means to raise or lift. Lumos, derived from the Latin word lumen. Incendio, inspired by the Latin word incendium, meaning fire, and it starts fires. In the later books, we hear about expecto patronum when we get to Dumbledore's army, etc., derived from the Latin words expecto, meaning, that's right, expect, and patronus, meaning protector. It summons the guardian to repel dark forces. I may have mentioned I may have gotten my spells and some of my charms confused, so I apologize for anyone who could be magically offended. Ridiculous, the word ridiculous, which is a charm, has been modified to create a spell to reveal the amusing nature of a Bogart. So maybe spells and charms are interchangeable. Okay. Meaning of names. We've already discussed Harry Potter. So now we will discuss the name Hermione Granger. Hermione is derived from Greek mythology and refers to the daughter of King Melissos, which I'm pronouncing wrong, and I'm so sorry, and Queen Helen of Sparta. It means well-born, or earthly, and Granger means someone who works on a granary or a farm. Of course, she is a muggle, so she is smart, but she is also earthly. She's from, she's a muggle. Well, she comes from muggles. Ron Weasley. Ron is the diminutive of Ronald, which means ruler's counselor. Who knew? I had no idea. And he is Harry's best friend. Albus Dumbledore. Albus means white or bright, and that's in Latin. And it suggests, what does white always suggest? Purity, wisdom, goodness. And Dumbledore, I have two sources that they're probably connected, refers to the Old English word for bumblebee. It symbolizes his gentle and kind of buzzing presence. And it represents Dumbledore's role as a wise and powerful mentor figure to Harry. It also comes, Dumbledore, from Thomas Hardy's novel, The Mayor of Casterbridge, where he refers to bumblebees as bumbledores. So that's so cool. Now, here's what's really nice. I like to take like a step back and look. Our Dumbledore is Socrates. Because what does Socrates do? What is his structure of philosophy and debate? It is to let you figure it out. You debate, you go back and forth, you use logic, you figure out how to get to an answer. And that is exactly what Dumbledore does in the Sorcerer's Stone throughout the book. And even after he is gone and in his will, he leaves things to Hermione, to Harry, and to Ron with no explanation. You figure it out, playing on the person's strengths. I just love that. So the invisibility cloak shows up when Harry leaves it up at the astronomy tower. It reappears again, with the little note, just in case. So Dumbledore is a wonderful teacher because it shows that he trusts in your own talents to get the job done. So what is the opposite of Socrates? That is every helicopter parent that you know. Okay. I could go on, but I'm going to skip over to Minerva McGonagall. Minerva is the Roman goddess of wisdom, strategic welfare, and crafts. The name reflects McGonagall's intelligence. She's such a smart teacher. And I even brought, I don't know if you can see, I have my little Scotch. This is the closest to Scotch plaid I could get today. But I have to tell you something. I came across what is allegedly the inspiration for the name McGonagall and other characters in Harry Potter, when I happened to it's a long story, but I won't go into it here. It's suffice to say, I happened upon a graveyard in Edinburgh, okay? And in that graveyard, who knew? But it is said that the author walked through that graveyard and may have been inspired by some of the headstones that she had seen. So if you are a member of my book club, you'll be able to see the images that I took of all the characters, and that's available also in our replay library. However, I will share with you right now that I will share with you the name of the graveyard. It's called Greyfriars Kirkyard, which means churchyard. It was established in 1620 by Mary, Queen of Scots. And I mean, talk about history. I love a graveyard because it is a place of love and devotion and history, right? So in the gift shop at Greyfriars for 50 pence, you can get one of these. And this is, I hate to say it. Let me see, how do I get this to work here? Well, I'll have just go to Greyfriars. Greyfriars Place. They don't even, they have this on here. I don't know if you can see that, but maybe okay, this is good back here. And you can also see their QR code. But it is the world's worst map, but it works. Okay. And on this map, if you look right here, who is that? That is, last name is McGonagall. Okay. Come to find out, this McGonagall was a poet, allegedly one of the worst poets that Scotland ever produced. But it is said that she got the names of McGonagall, Cornelius Fudge, Scridgemore. I'm telling you names you may not hear of if you've only read Sorcerer's Stone, but these guys all come up in later books. And also Potter. I found the headstone of Potter, and it was thanks to Greenfriars, where you can get this for, like I said, 50 pence in the church's gift shop, and you can spend a whole afternoon walking around this gorgeous, gorgeous cemetery, learning about all the history of all the families who are buried there. And you can find McGonagall, Moody, Black, and also Thomas Riddle. He's there. He's there. So I found this app. Oh, and Crookshanks. I forgot. Crookshanks is there too. So this is really exciting. And I hope that if you ever get a chance to go to Edinburgh, you will make it to Greenfriars. And you can also go see the Elephant Bar or Elephant Cafe, where our author wrote. And also Alexander McCall Smith also wrote in that little cafe. All right, that's that. Here's why critics think that this book is not so great. It doesn't follow the classic, it doesn't tick off the classic fantasy checkpoints that are important when you write a fantasy. It is also said to be sexist, the way it portrays people like Mrs. Weasley, Mrs. Dursley. They say it's insensitive. They have few, if any, references to non-Christian faiths and practices. Why are they celebrating Christmas? Why are they only celebrating Christmas, despite that they're supposed to be witches? To which I answer, it's a story. It's made up. If you don't like the story, make your own story. Okay. They say that the story is prejudiced. We have Ron Weasley, who it's implied he is of Irish descent, which is looked down upon by some for some reason that I don't understand, or that is some type of weird stereotype that's archaic, whatever, floating out there. But this is used to criticize her choices, that the students, their backgrounds, with each character, they have found a flaw that she is stereotyped instead have just captured a character. Again, to which I answer, if you don't like it, write your own book. Okay. The idea that it's formulaic, such as it goes according to a calendar year. There's always a new dark arts teacher. This is considered a criticism. Well, you know my answer to that too. I thought it'd be fun also just to share with you. I did a Google search in Google Scholar. Clearly, I'm not a scholar. However, when you go to Google Scholar and type in Harry Potter, I wanted to see what the results were, because I wanted to see how Harry Potter is, handled in academia. How do they use it in academia? So here's a list of some of the papers and articles that I pulled up. Harry Potter and International Relations, The Politics of Harry Potter, Harry Potter's Bookshelf, Harry Potter and the Classical World, Crowning the King, Harry Potter and the Construction of Authority, Looking for God in Harry Potter, Harry Potter and the Deathly Donald, Harry Potter and the Discourse of Gender, and Harry Potter and the Trouble with Tort Theory, which I found funny. I also found an article that in April of 2023 that Disney and Warner Brothers are not Disney, strike that. Max or HBO Max and Warner Brothers are going to do the entire Harry Potter series again over a 10-year period, with 1 year devoted to each of the books, or maybe 1 year and a little more, because there's 7 books in 10 years. And they're going to produce the entire season again. And J.K. Rowling is one of the producers. Okay, so how are we doing on time? All right, so I'm running just a wee bit over. So very quickly, I'm going to fly through the bio. So Joanne Rowling was born on Harry's birthday, July 31st, near Bristol. Her mother passed away when Jo was a teenager. I hope you enjoyed my very condensed review, look at Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. If you did enjoy this video, as always, I ask you to like, hit the subscribe, do all the button-y things, and please let other readers know about our wonderful book discussions. I thank you so much. Happy reading. I look forward to seeing you next time, where we'll be discussing another amazing book with chapter and notes book clubs. And I'm always looking for your suggestions. If you want to leave below books you think would be worth reading and discussing, I'm always open to suggestions. So thank you so much. Bye.